Shalom Aleichem and welcome back to our Shirin Svasemes Parsha Kiseitze Tavshin Peivav. One of the things the Torah warns us about in our Parsha is Zocher Es Asher Osa Hashem Elekecha LaMiriam. Remember that which the Rabban Hashem did to Miriam and Aviyah, that after Miriam and Aaron HaKohen went ahead and on their level, they spoke Lashon Hara about Moshe Rabbeinu. Miriam was stricken with tzaras and Miriam had to go ahead and separate herself from Klal Yisrael and go ahead and like a B'tzara, sit outside of the Gimel Machnas of Klal Yisrael until she was healed. And therefore Chazal Darshan from here that a person needs to go ahead and remember and remind himself not to go ahead and to speak Lashon Hara to ensure that a person doesn't say anything negative about another Yid in Klal. So this is the Makar, this is the source for the Azhara to go ahead and to speak Lashon Hara. And what this Svasemes is going to do in this beautiful piece in the year Taf Reish Mem Hey is explain to us the Kesher Dafka between Miriam and Aviyah and this Pagam of Lashon Hara. Obviously, if this Avera was brought about through Miriam and Aviyah, there has to be some connection that Miriam and Aviyah had to this Tikkun, to this Avera, to this Inyan of Lashon Hara, why she was connected, why the Baruch was medaktik with her Kechut Asayra more than even Aaron HaKohen and more than anybody else in Klal. So what exactly was it about Miriam and Aviyah that brings about this lesson, and how does that allow us to go ahead and to learn what our Avodah is, to go ahead and to ensure that we don't speak negative about another Yid, and Befrat during Chodesh Elul, how is that our Avodah? A beautiful piece of Svasemes. Let's learn the piece together to understand what the Pagam of Lashon Hara is, why it's so terrible, why the Chavetz Chaim goes in as Meirich and Agdam, and how many Averos a person could go ahead and be over by speaking Lashon Hara, and what a person can do when a person separates himself and a person guards himself from Lashon Hara, what tremendous chusim, what koiches a person has when a person does not speak Lashon Hara. It says this Svasemes in the year Taf Reish Mem Hey. The Inyan to go out and to separate oneself from Lashon Hara, ki me'achar, shekoichan shavanei Yisrael b'peh. Since the koich of Klal Yisrael is in the peh, like Bilam and Balak understood that the koich of Klal Yisrael is in the peh, hakol kol Yaakov, v'yadayim the Esav works with the Yadayim, Klal Yisrael works with the kol of Torah and the kol of Tefillah, and the koichan of Klal Yisrael is in the peh. Therefore, says this Svasemes, a person needs to ensure that they utilize their peh in the proper way. The greater the aver is, the greater the part of the body is, the more one has to ensure that it's only being used for the proper things. And therefore, since Klal Yisrael's ikar koyach is bepeh, memela, a person needs to ensure that the peh, the mouth, does not go ahead and speak negative about somebody else, and the damage that's caused when a person goes ahead and speaks negatively about somebody else. When a person speaks Lashon Hara, is a person's damaging that koyach of Klal Yisrael bepeh. But Zok this Svasemes, where exactly does the koyach of Klal Yisrael really come out bepeh? That comes out with Torah Shebal Peh. Torah Shebal Peh means a Torah that Klal Yisrael is able to go ahead and Klal Yisrael is able to extrapolate on their own from the Torah Shebeksav. Torah Shebeksav is written by the Rabban Shalom. Torah Shebeksav is the Rabban Shalom speaking, and Torah Shebal Peh is where Klal Yisrael is able to go ahead and to contribute through the Koichan Shel Yisrael B'Peh. We're able to contribute to the Torah Shebeksav our own Chedushim through the Yirgam Midas Satar Dreshes Ben, through our own Chedushim. We're able to go ahead and to include our Peh, to utilize our Koich of Peh, to be able to go ahead and create something which is called Torah Shebal Peh. It doesn't just mean that it's a Torah which is spoken as opposed to written, but it means that it's the koich of the Torah which is brought about through Klal Yisrael, through the koich of Klal Yisrael, the koichan shel Yisrael b'peh. Says this Svasemes, a beautiful taich. He says this is the be'er shenitna b'schus Miriam. We know the Gemara in Tainus tells us that there were three matanas that Klal Yisrael got in the midbar. They got the mon, they got the be'er, and they got the ananei kavod. It says the Gemara in Tainus that the mon was given b'schus Moshe Rabbeinu, the ananei kavod were given b'schus Aaron HaKohen, and the be'er was given b'schus Miriam and Aviyah. Says this Svasemes, what is the be'er? The be'er means something that's constantly giving forth water. It's not a bar. A bar means something that holds water. A be'er is a wellspring. A be'er is something that's constantly flowing, constantly going ahead and being mechadish itself with brand new water. Says this Svasemes, that's a reference to Torah, but specifically Torah Shebal Peh. The Gemara in Tainus tells us as well that Mayim, that Torah is nimshal l'mayim, ma Mayim yord b'makam gavoy l'makam namach. Mayim goes in and goes from a high place down to a low place, but specifically Torah Shebal Peh is nimshal not just to Mayim, but to the Mayim of the Be'er, the Mayim that constantly renews itself and constantly goes in and is mischadesh constantly. And therefore says this Svasemes, since Miriam and Aviyah is connected to this koich of Torah Shebal Peh, this koich of the Be'er Shel Miriam, this koich of the koich of Dibur, therefore she was the one that the Rebbe was medaktik with her Kechut Asar, because her koich was the koich of the Peh, as we see by the Shira of Miriam, by the song of Miriam. Her koich was the koich of the Torah Shebal Peh. a Torah that's able to be created through the Nukva and Memela, Miriam and Aviyah, who went ahead and on her level wasn't medactic and didn't go ahead and speak properly about Moshe Rabbeinu, she was stricken with tzaras because she did not go ahead and utilize the koich of the peh properly. And therefore says this Vasemes, our ikar avoida is to ensure and to know that our avoida, our koich is bepeh, and therefore we need to go ahead and to make sure that we sanctify the mouth that much more than all the other limbs of our body, to ensure that the mouth is being utilized in the proper way, to safeguard it, and to ensure that we're only going out and speaking positively about other Yidden. And then the Sfasema says an unbelievable thing. If we look back at the story of Yaakov Avinu going ahead and coming to the house of Lavan, we see this whole story taking place as a mashal to explain to us what the koich of Torah Sheba'al Peh is and what can get in the way of the Torah Sheba'al Peh, the avoin of Lashon Hara, the aveir of Lashon Hara, that can get in the way of a person being able to go ahead and utilize that koich of koich Shel Yisrael bepeh, the koich of the Torah Sheba'al Peh. Says this Fas Emes. If you look at the psukim over there, the psukim said that the Evan Gedoyla al Pia Be'er. There was a large rock sitting on top of the be'er, and again, on a simple level, it means that Yaakov was coming and he sees a rock on top of a well of water, and the shepherds are not able to drink. But says this Vasamis, it means much more than that. It's hinting to us what our koyach is and what gets in the way of the koyach. Yitachim lirmois al chet lashon hara. This Evan that sits on top of the be'er says to Vasamis, and the nimshal means the be'er of the Torah Sheba'al Peh. It means the well springs of Klal Yisrael that are able to go ahead and be renewing themselves constantly with the Torah Sheba'al Peh, with the be'er shel Miriam, with the be'er of Miriam Hanaviyah, and there's an Evan, the Evan Gedola that's on top of the be'er. And the Evan Gedola says this Vasamis is the Evan, which is Maramis, like the Gemara in Sukkah says to the Yetzer Hara, but specifically to this Inyan, the Evan Gedola is specifically the Inyan of Lashon Hara. As the Pasuk in Tehillim says, Lashon medaberes gedolos. That the Inyan of a Lashon, when a person goes ahead and utilizes Lashon in a negative way, it's large. A person goes ahead, and especially often when speaking Lashon Hara, a person goes ahead and blows up a story that may not be as big as a person's blowing it up. And even if it's true, it's definitely not the essence of the person. It's just one chelik of the person. But a person goes ahead, and the Evan Gedola, the Evan is the Yetzer Hara, and it's an Evan Gedola. The Avoid of Lashon Hara sits on top of the Be'er. And it doesn't allow a person to be able to go ahead and to drink from the waters of the Be'er Shel Miriam, to drink from the waters of Torah Sheba'al Peh. It's the Evan Gedolah that sits on top of the Be'er. Ulechein al yidei shmiras hapeh yechaylu love it lechinas haBe'er. If a person ensures that there is no Evan Gedolah, a person ensures that they utilize their mouth in the proper way, that a person is able to access the water of Torah Sheba'al Peh, a person is able to access that water that's in the Be'er, because there is no Evan Gedolah. And therefore a person needs to go ahead and watch his mouth more. As the pasuk says, "Moitzis vaysecha tishmar." Watch what comes out of your mouth. If you roiv kedusha sa'aver, v'amakam kaktzricha shmir b'yoser. As we said before, based on how kaddish the aver is, based on how much koyach there is in that aver, a person needs to go ahead and have more shmira in the place where there's more kedusha. And therefore, since the mouth has the ability to be able to go ahead and give out the Torah Sheba'al Peh, it needs a shmira more than the other parts of the body, and it needs an extra special shmira. And therefore this Evan HaGedolah is there, and the Evan is there holding back the ability for a person to be able to access the Be'er, and a person needs to not speak Lashon Hara, and that will allow a person to be able to access the Be'er. Says the Sfas Emes, this is why when all the Royim, all the shepherds gathered together, they were able to take off the Evan. Why? What's the nimshal of that, of all the shepherds gathering together? Like Deis Chabras B'nai Yisrael. That's the kesher of the Yichud, the Achtas of Klal Yisrael coming together. She hepech Lashon Hara v'senas. What does Lashon Hara do? It separates a person. The Mitzvah has to go outside of the Gimel Machnas, away from everybody else, because what he did was he separated himself from other people, was speaking negative about other people. Achtos is Chabras B'nai Yisrael is the opposite of that. The opposite of Lashon Hara and Senas Chinim. And what happens when you go ahead and Klal Yisrael gathers together? What happens when you're not connected to that Evan HaGedolah? What happens when you have the proper Shmira and you don't utilize your mouth for things that are negative, but rather you have a Chabras B'nai Yisrael, you speak positively about other Yidden, and you gather together with Achtos and Ahavas Yisrael, Zeichel is Galus Torah Sheba'al Peh. Then you're able to go ahead and when Klal Yisrael gathers together, when Asfu Shama, you're able to gather together with Golu as Evan, you're able to push off the Evan from the top of the Be'er, and you're able to access the Torah Sheba'al Peh. You're able to draw out the beautiful waters that are inside, that are hiding underneath the rock. But it all comes when Klal Yisrael gathers together. When Klal Yisrael is able to have the Kedusha of gathering together, the Achtus of gathering together, the Shmira of the Peh of gathering together, which allows Klal Yisrael to be able to go ahead and then be able to go ahead and be able to access the water of the Torah Sheba'al Peh. This is our avodah every day of the year, but befrat during Chodesh Elul, to work on Achtus of Klal Yisrael, to work on Havas Yisrael, to work on Shmira of the Peh, to work on ensuring that we learn from Chodesh Av what Lashon Hara can do, what speaking negatively, what Sinas Chinim can do, can destroy the base of Mikdash, and Mamela, our Ikar Avodah, is to go on to work on the Shmir of the Peh in order to ensure that we're able to have the Even HaGedolah be taken off to allow us to access the Be'er Shel Miriam, the Be'er of the Torah Shabbat Peh. We know that the 40 days of Elul leading up to Yom Kippur are Achana for Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is the time that we got the Luchas Shnias. Tzaddikim tell us that the Luchas Shnias are connected to Torah Shabbat Peh. The first ones were Luchas Rishonis, with Torah Shabbat Ksav, Luchas Shnias, and Torah Shabbat Peh. Our way to go ahead and to prepare for Torah Shabbat Peh is by utilizing our mouth in the proper way. The Koich of Torah, the Koich of Tefillah, Befrat Torah Shabbat Peh, Befrat the Shmira, not to speak negatively, and that will allow us to be able to have the Koich of the Peh in the proper way. And Hashem should give us the Koich to utilize that tremendous Kedusha of the Aver of the Peh in the proper way, with the proper Shmira, and the Mitzvah Hashem will be Zeicha through the Achtas of Klal Yisrael, through the lack of speaking Lashon Hara, will be Zeicha to drink from the sweet waters of the Torah Shabbat Peh, and be Zeicha Mitzvah Hashem to walk into Yom Kippur with the Achtas of all Klal Yisrael together. Have a great Shabbos.